Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today I wanted to share with you a couple of relatively new oracle decks that I've been working with over the last few weeks. So I have here the Wisdom of the Divine Feminine, and this is the Oracle for Heart-Centered Embodiment and Wholeness, and the Wisdom of the Shadow, Oracle for Self-Discovery, Soul Work, and Transformation. These are both by the same creators, which I'll have linked for you in the description box below. So I wanted to just share with you a little bit about each of these two beautiful decks and talk a little bit about how I've been working with them, particularly how I've been working with them with some other decks. So as always, I will leave links and timestamps in the description box below for you. So here you can see the beautiful backs of the cards. I'm going to go ahead and move the boxes out of the way, but just to let you know, they do come in this beautiful magnetic closure box with the ribbon. The cards and the booklet all sit right in here, and they store beautifully in these two boxes. So each deck also comes with a wonderful guidebook, and we'll kind of take a look at those here in a moment as we talk about each deck. So let's talk about the Wisdom of the Divine Feminine first, even though this was this creator team's second deck, but it was definitely the one that drew my attention. So I just thought we'd take a little flip through the deck. One of the things that I definitely want to note about working with these two oracle decks together, as I'll show you how I've been doing it here in just a few moments, but one of the things that's really wonderful is there are no repeat keywords. So if you work with these two decks together or even put them together, you're not going to get any repeating cards, which is really fantastic. So we have a nice table of contents which just lists the cards by title and the page numbers. So we have a little bit about the author's perspective, a little bit about the artist's perspective, which is wonderful. So you can kind of see how both of these two people came into working with these decks. This deck is focused on the Wisdom of the Divine Feminine. It says it is the wisdom within the gentle breeze at the shift of the season, reminding us to notice the subtleties within our own breath. The wisdom of the cycle of the moon, a sacred archetypal mirror for us to witness our inner space. The wisdom within the gaze of meeting a seeming stranger and feeling the spiral of truth within our center. It is everywhere within everything. So this guidebook also has some ideas of how to work with the deck, which is really fantastic. We have some contemplations, some rituals, and ways to amplify your rituals. And then we have some card spreads with the Heart of the Matter, a co-creation 2-card spread, a triple goddess 3-card spread, the sacred circle spread. This one I have done, it's quite wonderful. And then we go into the cards and their core essences. So real quick before we jump into the cards, I'll just show you kind of what the setup is in the guidebook. We have a small little black and white thumbnail at the top. We have the title, we have a I am statement, a little bit about kind of a takeaway message from the card or a sum up of the card, the oracle message, some contemplations or perhaps journaling questions, and a ritual. And we have this for all of the cards, which is really quite wonderful. So we'll do a little bit of reading from the guidebook when I actually show you how I've been working with these cards. But real quick, I'm just going to do a little flip through so you can see all of the cards in the Divine Feminine. So this is a gorgeous matte deck. Both of these have absolutely gorgeous cardstock, which shuffles beautifully. It is gilded in this really kind of orangey gold color. And you know, normally I'm not a fan of gilding, but this is gilding that's been well done, so I do enjoy it. The backs are absolutely beautiful. And the artwork in this deck, or both of these decks, is really stunning. So here we have the Wellspring, Humility, Transformation, Wholeness, Introspection, Grounding, Trust, Visions, Harmony, Embodiment, Receiving, Ripeness, Radiance, Ease, Rawness, Power, Intuition, Freedom, Flow, Joy, Beauty, Life Force, Blossoming, Encouragement, Sacred Union, Expression, Sovereignty, Fierceness, Discernment, Presence, Devotion, Nurture, Passion, Community, Pleasure, Compassion, Potential, Love, Mystery, collaboration, nature, allies, cycles, and creation. So the setup for the guidebook for the Wisdom of the Shadow is the same as the book we just looked at. So it says, this oracle is created to be a powerful tool for self-discovery, inner alchemy, soul work, shadow work, transformation, and deep and personal experience. Each painting is a portal to access the places within that are seeking to be illuminated, liberated, integrated, and amplified by our own awareness. So again, we'll take a look at one of the write-ups in the guidebook when we talk about working with this particular oracle. Again, same beautiful matte cardstock. Here's the backs of this particular deck, and it is edged in this beautiful metallic black, which is actually quite wonderful. So a real quick flip through the cards. We have authenticity, metamorphosis, connection, emotion, self-embrace, doubt, sadness, boundaries, balance, pain, opening, emptiness, reflection, confusion, rage, change, panic, truth, grief, tenderness, greed, dissolution, discomfort, rising, dependency, resistance, courage, resilience, soul care, frustration, shame, fear, expectations, sensuality, letting go, judgment, intrusion, wisdom, vulnerability, integration, voice, inner child, victory, and identity. Okay, so real quick before we jump into how I've been working with these cards, let's go ahead and give them a little shuffle just so you can see how that goes. Again, beautiful matte cardstock. And yes, even though it's gilded, I still riffle, shuffle, and bridge it. It does shuffle beautifully. You can also shuffle these together because they are the exact same size. They do have slightly different backs, but I think if you wanted to actually work with these two decks together in one deck, it would certainly work well. And you'd definitely be getting a good balance of light and shadow with this particular combined oracle. So there's a couple of different ways that I have been working with these two decks, most of which is primarily pairing it with tarot, although they do read beautifully as standalone oracle decks. But one of the decks that I've been having a lot of fun pairing it with is the Tarot of the Sidhe. Now, this is a newer edition of this deck because I do have my original copy, which was completely trimmed down, borderless. But for this particular practice, I like having the titles on it because I do access the guidebook for all of these decks when I do this work. And so it's actually on this newer, a little bit less glossy Schiffer cardstock, which is a bit thinner and a bit more flexible, which is wonderful. So what I've been doing and kind of how I've been working with these decks together, that's really tall. Let's just pull it there. Perfect. Love it. Wonderful little reading to start off with. Let's kind of get them in the center here. So how I've been working with these three decks together is using the Tarot of the Sidhe as my primary card, my focus card for the reading. This is the energy that I need to be tapping into, and that's kind of how I've been reading this. The Tarot of the Sidhe is a very energetic deck for me. It definitely ties me into what kind of energies that I'm working with, maybe seen or unseen. And so here we have the High Priestess, and then I look to the Divine Wisdom deck to show me the light aspect of that energy, and the Wisdom of the Shadow to show me the underlying aspect of that energy. So not always shadow in a bad way. Because here we have rising. That's actually a really wonderful, potent keyword to have, especially in association with the High Priestess. So then this kind of tells me like this is the energy that I need to be cultivating right now. This is the light aspect of it and the shadow aspect of it. And then I get into all of these wonderful books because they are all fantastic. And so for this particular one, we'll go ahead and do a reading from each of the little books for these decks. And but then for the rest of them, I will just kind of show you how I've been working with them without diving too deep into a reading. So one of the things that I love about the Tarot of the She is actually the guidebook, and the guidebooks for all of these decks are fantastic. So we have some beautiful write-ups for the High Priestess. So what I would do is read the write-up for the Tarot of the She, and that is going to key me into the underlying energy of that card. So for the High Priestess, we have, I am the guardian of the lake, I am the waters. I am the reflection of the hidden moon, and I am what lies beneath. I rest upon the pages of the great book between the setting sun and the rising moon. My name is secret, and its power lies beyond the veil. If you would learn to read your own reflection in my waters, then perchance you might start to glean some wisdom from my book. Of course, there's more here, but really this is talking about tap into your own inner voice. That is where the wisdom of the High Priestess lives. Get into this guidebook, and let's go ahead and look up potential here. So for potential, we have the cosmic egg, and it says, I open the portal of my own infinite potential. I let myself be moved in the direction of my potential. It says, life itself, the egg, a new life growing from the great no thing and everything, from the cosmos, space, and void, through the holy portal of blood and bone, light glowing, growing, ready to emerge, holding the blueprint, infinite potential. This potential is like a sacred blueprint within that holds a map for what is possible. It is the growth encoded in us, like an egg that can only become a spider, the spider that innately knows how to weave a web, the silken strands woven together in an intelligent, strong structure. Potential is what can be, as it is organically meant to be, in absolute divine perfection. So again, tapping into that, I would of course read the whole entry, but tapping into that tells me that the light aspect of the High Priestess energy is kind of having that inner knowing on a very deep instinctual level. Our innate self knows. It's full of all the potential of all the wisdom that we can mine from listening to our inner voice that we're bringing forward through this High Priestess energy. So then I go into the wisdom of the shadow and look up what is written about this card. I rise from the ashes of life's flame. I am resurrected, reborn, rising, burning, dissolving in the flames. A full and complete death to ash and bone. Nothingness, stillness, the void. Ash and air swirl in union. Rebirthing the flame itself, flames for feet, flames for wings, flying and rising and becoming yet again. We have opportunities to rebirth ourselves consistently, with every year on our birthday, every month with the moon, and every day with the sun, every moment we choose. Like the phoenix who dies in a beautiful display, bursting into flames, becoming fire and ash, and as grand of a resurrection as the perishing, a powerful self emerges anew each time. So this card is asking us what we are ready to release to life's flames. And so that's telling me that within this High Priestess energy, what I'm looking for is what can I release in order to fully engage in that? Maybe what are some limiting beliefs that are keeping me from fully engaging in my High Priestess energy? What is it that I need to let go of, to shed, to let burn up in order to be able to listen and fully integrate my inner voice into my way of being? So this is kind of how I've been working with these 3 decks together. And I've just been doing some really wonderful kind of in the moment, tapping into the energy of these cards and what's going on for me in the moment. So it isn't necessarily something I've been journaling, as a lot of times when I do kind of in the moment readings, I will actually just kind of go through the reading. I will take a picture on my phone to reference later if I need to, but it's not often something that I journal with. It's more of something that I need to know in this moment. What kind of energy do I need to tap into right here, right now for whatever is going on for me currently? And these 3 decks work really well for this. So here we have Warrior 4 with the Foundations Blessed. One of the reasons that I like using this particular deck, as well as just the really powerful energetic artwork, which I think does work really well with these 2 decks. We do have the keywords on the bottom as well, and that's one of the reasons why I purchased a second copy of this deck so that I could have one with the keywords on it. So here we have our Foundations are Blessed with Compassion and Opening. We have the Maker of Earth with Visions and Discomfort. the soulmates with joy and intrusion. That's an interesting one, right? Here we have the chariot with creation and pain. I skipped one. The Dreamer 8 with the web of mirrors with trust and identity. That's a really powerful one. I really love the way these decks work together. They're absolutely beautiful and they read so wonderfully together. And the messages, when you combine that with the guidebook, are just absolutely phenomenal. So here we have Roots and Blossom between pleasure and judgment. We'll just do one more with this deck. And the Dancer of Water with flow and dissolution. So really wonderful, energetic. And again, you can look at where all the color and all the movement is, because all of these decks have a lot of energy within them, a lot of color, a lot of movement, a lot of flow within the artwork, which is absolutely beautiful. So another interesting deck that I've been working with alongside these two oracle decks is the Wild Unknown Tarot. And this is a deck that I've actually been finding quite a bit of interesting uses for. So there's a bit of a specific kind of a reading or style of reading that I've been doing with this particular deck, working with these two oracles. So let me kind of show you how I've been doing that. I pull two of the Divine Feminine Oracle cards to create the basis of the light side of my reading. Then I pull two cards from the Shadow deck to create the shadow energy of my reading, kind of create some space here. Then what I've been doing is laying a 3-card spread with the Wild Unknown in between. Okay, and I get those spreaded out a little bit so you can kind of see it a little bit better. To be perfectly honest, I was actually doing this with my pocket Wild Unknown, so having the cards all closer together worked well, but I decided to grab the full size so it'd be a little bit more clear on the video. But basically what I've been doing is using these two as the light side of the reading, these two from the shadow deck as the shadow side of the reading, and then I have a kind of standard 3-card reading where I'm kind of looking at these 3 cards together, these 3 cards together, and this card creates the tie between the two. So we have the light side of the reading with our 4 of Wands in between cycles and grounding, and then we have our shadow side of the reading with the Tower supported by balance and greed. And then in between we have the 3 of Pentacles. So how can we take this side of things and this side of things and combine that into this kind of trinity we see here, this balancing of the energies and of the things that you're working toward. Now, without a particular situation or thought in mind, it reads kind of as a random sort of spread. Usually when I'm doing this type of a spread with these particular decks, I generally have a particular situation in mind. So this is kind of helping me to suss out what's the light side of the situation, the shadow side of the situation, and kind of what do I need to do to kind of bring those together in a way that is going to help me deal with or take care of this particular situation. Let me just lay one more so you can kind of get a good idea of it. So again, you can see that we have kind of this trinity here, and then our Son of Wands in between. So we have our 10 of Swords with freedom and community, and maybe looking at, you know, where can you connect with your community but still maintain your sense of freedom, you know. And then we have over here, we have the 7 of Swords with letting go and boundaries, you know, really looking at what do you need to let go of, what thought process maybe, because we're looking at the swords, do you need to let go of in order to maintain those really important boundaries. And then we have the Son of Wands in between, kind of saying you really got to step into that. You can't just sit and wait for this kind of stuff to happen to you. You have to take initiative and get it moving in the direction that you want to be moving in. So I have really been enjoying working with these two decks. I have used them almost exclusively together, although there has been a time or two where I have pulled these as also clarifier cards in a larger reading. And so I might use one or more of these cards if I'm looking to understand more of the light side of the card. I could also in the same way use the Wisdom of the Shadow as a clarifier to understand the shadow side of a card. So let's say I have the Princess of Dis. I'm using my large Thoth here. And I want to understand this has come up in a reading, and maybe this is in a particular situation. Maybe this is in a situation of something that is of benefit to me, right? So I'm looking at the Princess of Discs and I'm going, this is of benefit to me. Well, I don't really understand how this card in this context, in this position, is currently a benefit to me. So maybe I might pull out my Wisdom of the Divine Feminine to understand the light aspect of the card. I've got some extra cards over here. So let's just kind of give this one a little bit of a quick hand over hand and pull a card to understand maybe what the light aspect of this card. And imagine that we have, you know, a much larger reading going on. I should have pulled my smaller Thoth card, but you know, let's say we've got a few cards on the table. Let's just throw some up here. I'm just randomly pulling out of the box, but you know, let's say we've got these here. Okay, that's our reading, right? Our pretend reading. And I'm looking at this, and this is the position of a benefit. And so within my reading, I'm like, I get the rest of these and I understand what their position is and what they're trying to tell me, right? But I've come to this Princess of Discs and I'm like, I don't see how that's a benefit to me. So I could shuffle my Wisdom of the Divine Feminine, looking again for that light aspect because we're talking about a benefit, and I can pull a card from here and maybe use that as the clarifier. So ease is the benefit that Princess of Disc energy is going to provide for me. So let's say, for example, that we're looking at the same reading and now we're over here at this Ten of Swords and it is in the position of a challenge. And we're not quite sure what that means for us in our situation, but it's a challenge position. So it's possibly a shadow energy that we're looking at. Maybe something unseen, something untapped, or maybe even something negative. The keyword for that card is ruin. So it's a very good chance that we're looking at some sort of a negative challenge that maybe we have to overcome to get to this benefit of the ease of the Princess of Discs. So I'm going to pull a card from the Wisdom of the Shadow, and it's giving us the card of a rage. So it's telling us that maybe this situation is going to be something that we're going to be really angry about. And the energy that we're going to be dealing with in this Ten of Swords situation is going to make us quite angry. And that's something that we need to be aware of. That's a challenge we're going to have to overcome. So I think in that aspect too, these decks are really wonderful. Again, I haven't done that a ton. I don't use clarifiers, like oracle decks as clarifiers very often in my readings. I mostly use them as focal points or to create spread positions. But I think that these two decks can both can be used very interchangeably as focal cards, as looking at the light and shadow aspect of individual cards, of situations, of using them for clarifying cards, like I just showed you with, you know, a reading where we're like unsure where we're at with a particular card. We can use these to clarify that and maybe provide a little bit more information. I think that these are absolutely fantastic decks. I'm so thrilled to be able to get to work with them and to use them. I've found great benefit in working with them together, but they are beautiful standalone oracle decks that work quite well all on their own as well. Like if you really just want to use one or the other, you definitely don't need both. However, I think they do complement each other really well and help you to really flesh out a reading or a particular card energy, or really looking at things through that very defined light and shadow meaning. I think that's really wonderful. So I want to thank the creators for sending me these decks to share with you today. I would love to know what you think about them, if you have them, have used them at all, and what your experiences have been. So please feel free to share with me in the comments below. As always, you'll find links for everything I've featured here in the description box below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.